Namaste. We heard today increasing number of people are afraid that something bad will come to them. They will faint, have a heart attack, pass out, go crazy. This sudden rise in anxiety becomes unbearable and the individual needs instant relief. It is advised people with this disorder should keep a doctor's emergency number or medication with them all the time. These bouts, of course, are unexpected, unpredictable, and very terrifying. Today, in our session, we talk about panic disorder with our psychoanalysis consultant, Mr. Himanshu Vaidya. Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Sir, let me start off by asking you what exactly is panic disorder?
It is a sudden rise in the anxiety or fear that one feels. We would call it anxiety. And this sudden rise is so crippling to the person that it produces not only a crippling fear, crippling anxiety, but also psychosomatic symptoms. And the person feels as though everything is now going to come to an end. A catastrophe is going to befall him, and there is nothing in his power or anybody else's power that can stop that catastrophe from happening. And this extreme terror, as though the world is going to come to an end, or that he is going to disintegrate into pieces, or the world is going to disintegrate into pieces, or something terrible is going to happen. These kind of feelings arise in the person, and the person finds it so uncomfortable that he needs emergency attention, mostly with medication. And once it stabilizes, one can look at psychotherapy. But this sudden rise of crippling anxiety is what we call a panic attack. And if it happens many times over and continues for a reasonable period of time, we call it a panic disorder. It is an anxiety spectrum disorder, but a very crippling and a very acute form of an anxiety disorder.
So, what are the major symptoms of panic disorder?
Uh, One, a feeling of sudden rise in fear that is completely debilitating and crippling. Two, palpitation. Three, sweat in the palms. Four, feeling the loss of muscle tone. Five, uh, some people report other feelings like nausea, like headache, like muscle tension, like cramps. So all these feelings, psychosomatic symptoms, they accompany this sudden rise in fear. And when this kind of symptoms are seen, we classify that as the, the panic disorder.
So, quite a few physical symptoms, right? I mean, many physical symptoms, majorly.
Yes,
um,
many of the physical symptoms, because it is said anxiety produces almost 40 different symptoms in the body. And
mhm.
in panic disorder, we see almost 6 to 10 different manifestations in practice of sudden rise, not only in psychological anxiety, but in manifestation of somatic symptoms. So we do see almost 6 to 10 different somatic symptoms, some of which I mentioned to you: palpitation, sweating, loss of muscle tone, nausea, uh, finding it difficulty to think, blankness of the mind, and so on.
So, what is a psychoanalytic explanation of the causation of this disorder?
Uh, it is essentially a disorder of sudden rise of anxiety, which happens because the regulatory mechanism of the ego fails. So one, there are two aspects to it psychoanalytically. One, that there has been too much production of anxiety, and two, the ego has not been able to regulate the anxiety which is being produced. And because there is a sudden rise of this anxiety, the panic has started. So it's almost like a nightmare that you are having a daymare, right? That just as in a nightmare, the affect is not diluted or processed, and all of the affect comes up and you feel it's a nightmare. Similarly here, it's almost like a waking nightmare where too much anxiety is generated, step one, and two, this generated anxiety is not regulated well by the ego defenses. So it is too much of generation of anxiety and failure to regulate the anxiety which leads to a sudden rise of the panic. Take an example. Let us say two people generate the same amount of anxiety. In one person, it comes up as panic. In the second person, half of it is repressed, half of it is felt, half some part of it is somatized, some part of it is sublimated, and whatever is repressed is slowly released over a period of time. Then two people, despite generating the same amount of anxiety, being exposed to the same situation, still will not have the same resultant panic. One will have panic, the second will not have a panic, because in the second case, although the generation of anxiety is there, the regulatory system regulates that anxiety very well. Part repression, part suppression, part sublimation, part expression, part somatization. Somehow the generated anxiety is managed. So we are looking at too much of generation and failure of the ego. Now this leads to two psychoanalytic questions. Why should too much anxiety be generated, and why should the ego defenses fail? And this is explained by various schools that too much anxiety is being generated because of either the fear of the uh, Oedipal event coming true, the castration anxiety, the guilt uh, associated with it coming true, or the attack of bad breast coming true, or a fragile self disintegrating in front of a challenge, or too much of anger is coming up, and therefore the panic attack may be because of signal anxiety, that because too much of anger is coming up, too much of signal anxiety is leading to the panic. So all these explanations are there in psychoanalysis, but essentially it has to do with two things. One is too much of generation and failure of the ego mechanism. So in most cases, right, of course you have people of all types, but in most cases it is essentially the disintegration of a fragile self, and therefore the key to prevention is how to strengthen the self and enhance ego cohesion. And in some cases where the bad breast attack is anticipated, internalization of a good, reliable, stable object. So these are various explanations in uh, psychoanalysis. There is one more good explanation outside of psychoanalysis, which is to do with catastrophic thinking. That this is one of those disorders where, apart from psychoanalysis, behavioral therapy and cognitive therapy related to catastrophic thinking also are very important, because catastrophic thinking also explains this disorder in a very good manner.
And how does psychoanalysis help in healing of this particular disorder?
Uh, all anxiety spectrum disorders require psychoanalytic treatment to go on for a reasonably moderate to long time and start off in a cohesion way, because the first thing required for any anxiety patient is to create a safe zone, a space of safety. So in this case also it's even more required that we allow the creation of a safe space in the therapy room. So we start in a cohesion way, and we start off with at least 2 days a week, right? And it goes off for at least 1 to 2 years. So we are looking at 2 days a week, 1 to 2 years in terms of duration. And in terms of the nature of therapy within psychoanalysis, we are looking at initial cohesion therapy followed by the type of school which may be suited based upon how the panic is generated. If we suspect attack of the bad breast, we go the Kleinian way. If we suspect the Oedipal catastrophe, we go the Freudian way. If we suspect repressed anger, we go the ISTDP way. Right? If we suspect a weak self, we keep going the cohesion way. So this is how we would go in psychoanalysis, and this is one of the areas where I would say we should couple psychoanalytic psychotherapy along with behavioral therapy and uh, cognitive working through of catastrophic thinking.
And how about holistic healing then, sir? Does it have a role to play here?
Not only a role, I would say a vital role, because the first thing a panic attack person needs is relaxation. The opposite of panic is relaxation. There are two ends of a spectrum, right? On one hand, you have relaxation, on the other hand, you have panic. So the relaxation is something which can be provided by Reiki, pranic healing, music, meditation, certain yogic practices of pranayam, and hypnotherapy relaxation. Right? Many kinds of music for relaxation are also there. Some acupressure techniques also are there. So relaxation is something where holistic healing has a very big role to play, because the person is fed up of this continuing high sense of anxiety and panic. And the person also feels embarrassed after the panic attack is over because of what he has behaved like in the panic attack. So for that, we also need some group support where people with panic disorders can come together and support each other. And we also need positive support from society to be extended to the person.
And
So I
sir,
think
how?
holistic healing has a lot of a vital role to play there. Yeah, sorry, you're saying something.
Sorry. How about patient education? How important and in what direction can we educate the patient?
I think this is one of the areas where patient education is vital, because there is a large amount of secondary anxiety produced because of panic. There is almost a kind of a secondary panic in response to the real panic. And that is because the person does not understand what is happening to him. If he understands, I think the very cognitive understanding will provide him relief, will save him from that what we call the anxiety of the infinite anxiety of the unknown. He will know the do's and don'ts, and he will practice what I call gradual desensitization. It's a CBT term, but very vital here. Gradual desensitization to those events which produce panic. Okay? So he can practice those things. He can observe the do's and don'ts of what help him keep distance from panic and what lead to panic. He can also know which medications are working or not working, which therapy approach is working or not working. He can also more precisely report to the therapist or the psychiatrist the preceding or succeeding symptoms or feelings or thoughts he has, which allows them to work better with him. And lastly, he is able to collect a basket of holistic tools and a basket of social engagements and alignments in terms of support groups, social work, uh, developing relationships with more people, getting attached to special interest groups, so that he is able to develop strong attachments, internalize more good objects, keep himself busy, be positively productive, and all of that will add indirectly to his health. So these are the very, and he also is, it's also very important lastly, that he can explain to his parents, if they have not had psychoeducation, not to panic when this happens. Otherwise, the parents panic as much as the patient does.
Patient. That is
So it's
precise.
very, yeah. So I think these are some of the very vital points where, like in case of multiple personality disorder, and like in case of separation anxiety disorder, this is a disorder where patient education is not only important, but I would say uh, it should almost be a kind of a must do for both therapist and the psychiatrist.
So precisely my second question, because it would be equally terrifying for the parents or the caregivers. So what kind of education do they need, and what are the do's and don'ts?
Uh, at the sight of panic, because that will add to the difficulty of the patient. The second is to clearly see what is precipitating panic and avoid that thing. Third is to provide support to the person as he goes into psychotherapy and slowly gets to heal himself. Fourth, make sure that the person does not miss on medication if the medications are on. Fifth, always keep medications handy. And sixth, uh, get person involved in many support groups, in many holistic activities, get some holistic tools for the person. Make sure that apart from medication and therapy, the person does practice some form of holistic healing, right? So that overall relaxation is enhanced, and slowly over a period of time, as therapy works, medication works, holistic measures work, you can reduce the intensity or increase the duration between two attacks and slowly move towards health. Yeah, and one more point, lastly, um, how can I miss this? The secondary problems. In long-term care of any psychologically ill person, the caregivers often develop secondary problems like secondary depression, secondary anxiety, and so on. So the caregiver education helps the caregivers to prevent this kind of secondary problems.
Well, it's always a pleasure talking to you, Mr. Himanshu Vaidya. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. And for our viewers, we covered today panic disorder. In our subsequent videos, we will be covering many such disorders from the DSM-5. Do watch our coming videos and write to us. You can write to us in the comment below. Alternatively, you can even mail us at hvindia@gmail.com. Thank you for watching. Namaste.
Namaste.